Before we get started, support for this show comes from Boulder Strategic Consulting. You can drive your business strategy with a digital plan that unites and engages your team. Boulder Strategic Consulting can bridge the gap between your technology and marketing departments. You need insights to inspire business transformation. Boulder will empower you to thrive in a digital world. You don't have to stress out about your digital transformation projects anymore. Let Boulder Strategic Consulting come in and help you and your team reach success. Find out more at boulderstrategy.com. That's BOLDR strategy.com. How comfortable are you with challenging the status quo? Many of us might think we're pretty good at testing our assumptions, but my guest for this episode is masterful at it. In fact, she's a successful social entrepreneur precisely because she's so good at disruption. And she even wrote a book to help us all get better at radically challenging the status quo, too, called Disrupt Her. Like disruptor. Get it? Here's what Fast Company said about her. Miki Agrawal brings the wit and provocation of a performance artist to marketing products that have historically been associated with shame. And she's catalyzed a movement along the way. Please enjoy this conversation with Miki Agrawal. I am talking to Miki Agrawal right now. And Miki, you are absolutely thrilling and stunning in person, but you have, I have to say, I saw you years ago give a presentation on your first book, Do Cool Shit. And it
so
was
crazy too.
It was amazing. And I was inspired at the time. You've come out with a new book, Disrupt Her, Disrupt Her. Mm-hmm. And it's a manifesto. And so I love that we're here together, that I have the chance to talk with you and ask you a little bit about Disrupt Her, about your views on creativity and being a social entrepreneur, and basically the way that you live a purposeful life. That's a lot.
I'm happy to be here.
That's a lot, right? Okay, so let's get started.
Yes.
Do cool shit to disrupt her. Walk me through the evolution, like from there to here.
Yeah. So my career began as in finance and investment banking, and I moved to New York City in 2001 when right before 9/11, and my subway stop every single morning was to World Trade Center.
Wow!
And I would basically go to get off the train at 2 World Trade Center, walk upstairs, get tea with my girlfriend at the cafe at the World Trade Center, and then walk across the street to my office, which was directly across the street from 2 World Trade. And 9/11 happened. 700 people in my girlfriend's office died on that day. 2 people in my office died on that day. And everyone was just walking to work, going to work, taking the train, just like any day. And many of them didn't come home. And that was the first and only day in my life that I slept through my alarm clock.
Oh, wow.
And I share some of that story in Do Cool Shit, and also a little bit in Disrupt Her. But it was really my wake-up call. It was my aha moment. It was the moment that really helped me see that the mystery of life is that you never know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
Right? We can all get hit by a meteor and die in an instant, and that will be it. And so the question became so clear for me. It's like, like, what is my purpose in life? What do I want to do? What shines a light in my eyes?
You did this. So she illustrates this beautifully in the book. And I made a note to myself because I called it, give ourselves a death deadline or a lifeline. And it's a life deadline because you actually say, there are only about 21,000 days to live from the point when we graduate college, usually around 22 years old, to the point when we die around the age of 80. And so what I love about this is that you actually, when you put
some practical parameters around, like, let's talk about it. Like, if you've got about this much time to live,
That's
what
right.
are you doing with
That's
it?
it. That's it. And
What are
so
you doing with
that's
it?
exactly
Yeah.
it. So for me, I was like, all right, I wrote down 3 things I want to do with my life right after 9/11. The first was to play soccer professionally. The second was to make movies. And the third was to start a business.
Yeah.
And I did all 3. I made the New York Magic soccer team. I worked in the film business for a couple of years. And then had my first aha moment for my first business, which was born with a stomach ache.
Wow.
And all of my businesses, the goal, and we'll go through them very quickly, but the goal of all the businesses was always to elevate humanity, was to always lift up, our people in the world, and support the planet at the same time. So the first business was born out of a stomach ache. I was eating out a lot, and kept having a lot of stomach aches, and you ate a lot of kind of crappy food while you're out and about. And one day I came home with a horrible stomach ache, and I was like, enough is enough. And I went to research it and discovered the massive processed food industry, the hormones, antibiotics, the pesticides, the preservatives that were in the food today. And I really did a deep dive in, looking at categories like pizza that hadn't really been disrupted in a really long time, and was made with bleached flour, processed cheese, sugar-filled sauces, processed toppings. It was really bad for you. And yet it was, if done right, if made with the right ingredients, it actually would be a brain food. It's called, people crave pizza because it actually has all the food groups in it, but it's done right.
Yeah.
And so the question became, oh my God, like, I want to create the world's best alternative pizza concept.
Right.
And so without any experience, in 2005, I was 25 years old, opened New York City's first farm-to-table, local, organic, like gluten-free pizza concept. And none of these buzzwords existed at the time. And
I know. Well, I was thinking about that because going through the history, can I just say, and this is just a little of a sideways jaunt here, but seriously, everybody has curse words in their books now. And back when you did that, it was like not the thing. Now it's like a trendy thing. And I'm like, how often are you at the front end of some stuff that's happening like that? It's kind of like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, and it comes with a lot of pushback too, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, do cool. Shh. You're like, just say it.
Just say
say
it.
shit. It's fine. We all heard it.
So
I mean, it's true, and I think I think you have to have a really strong community around you who really love and support you, who can then, like, if people talk shit about you or push back against your kind of forward-thinking ideas, you'll always have a really strong tribe to fall back on.
Right.
And I think for me, like, starting any one of my business, I never would have been able to really push through had I not had a really solid foundation of friendship around me.
Have you always had a solid friendship?
Well, I have an identical twin sister.
I had the opportunity to interview Radha. She was, oh my gosh, she is amazing. And I'm just like, okay, good genes, good like family, was something went really right there,
Well, I think it starts with having a buddy that's always like, I love that idea. Go do it. Oh my God, early morning dance party. Yes, go do it. Kind of like you really egg each other on in a really positive way, and you support. So you always had someone to laugh at your jokes, and so I think I was like born in community, and so I think as a result, all of the ideas that came from that came in my career of entrepreneurship, really had a foundation of solid friendship. And so so with the restaurants, then after them, I brought in a partner to run the restaurants, and so I freed up my time to work on my next business, which is the period proof underwear company.
Yes, thanks. Yes.
And also a zany idea. People were like, no one's going to ever wear like underwear that you bleed into. Sounds weird. No one's ever going to talk about a woman's period because it's so taboo and shameful and all these things. And when I was first starting out, it was none of these conversations were happening. Nobody, no press wanted to talk to me.
Right.
No investor wanted to talk to me. Because they were like, it's gross, I don't want to talk about it, it's weird, we already have a solution for it. And it's just like, the solution doesn't work.
It's not a good solution.
They leak, they're terrible for the environment, they don't feel good, they're bad, and they're all invented by men.
Yeah.
And so there's an opportunity to create a product for women by women, and also one that was an elevated experience, and one that also supported women in the developing world who didn't have access to menstrual products.
Has the pushback has it ever given you pause? So you are a disruptor because recently And tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but isn't it like the ads for Hello Tushy, another one of your companies? Like, isn't it true that they were deemed like inappropriate for like the subway system here or something like that?
The thing is, like, the word what is appropriate and inappropriate to societal preconditions and societal standards is all made up, right? We have decided to over-sexualize parts of women's bodies that are literally used to feed our children. Mm-hmm. We are creating these sort of like rules and guidelines based on centuries past around what people of the past said. And and you're being uncouth because you're talking about periods and poop and pee. Why are you doing that? I'm like, last time I checked, you pooped. Yeah. Last time I checked, you
for
peed.
Something that we all have, like it's just the thing that happens. Right. Why is it that we can't talk? I mean, this is the thing we should be able to talk about. Right.
It's like we've all had children. We talked when we were raising our young children. All we talked about was poop. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, it became a point where it became uncomfortable to talk about. Why? Because society said so. Right. And it's just like, who is society? Why are they making these rules? And I think that's why I wrote this book, Disruptor. Yes. But so kind of going back to the businesses, you know, the real pushback came while building THINX was really all about, you know, people not wanting to talk about it. So then it became like, okay, let's come up with all these fun campaigns to talk about it. And one of them was the New York City subway campaign, where we want to just use the word period in the subways. Yeah. You know, underwear for women with periods. And they were like, you cannot use the word period in the subway.
I mean, can we just talk about the fact that that we now know what they're establishing lines of like, like what are these like sort of moral? I don't know what that even is. Like, okay. We can talk about all this other stuff. We can sell condoms, but we're just gonna we're not good with periods.
No,
periods
the line was like, what if a 9-year-old boy sees these ads?
That's insane.
You know, and I was like, what's wrong with that? You know, it was actually interesting. I was in a meeting just the other day with an older gentleman, and I was talking about my history of my companies, and I was talking about periods, and he was like, stop. And I was like, what? He was like, I don't want to get into this. It could be a harassment conversation, so I don't want to talk about it.
No.
I was like, you want to talk about periods? Wow, I'm just like, all right, whatever.
I don't
happy not to, but just so you know, you are here because of it. Without that blood, you would not be here. Moving on. It happened a week ago.
Well, clearly though, I mean, I don't understand how. So this is actually good for us to hear, because someone can read your story and they can assume that, well, maybe you've just knocked down those boundaries and you just keep going along. You're not running into people pushing back. And you're saying even a week ago, I was in a discussion where this happened. People are still pushing back, and I'm still trudging forward.
Absolutely.
But you would think that an investor or anyone, any kind of conversation that you have like this, would look at your track record, would look at the success that you've had and say, okay, you know what? I think now I will, even if I feel uncomfortable, I think that this warrants a conversation about it.
I mean, a lot of people do, but there's some really old school, really set in their ways people that eventually are going to die. You know what I mean? And then the next generation, that's true. And when they die, the next generation will get less and less, you know, kind of triggered by it.
Is that what this is about?
Well, this book is really about permission. It's about permission to make a decision in every aspect of your life, have agency of your own life in every aspect of it, and decide for yourself, does that feel good to me? Is it in integrity with how I feel and think? Yeah. And also if it's from a good place. Obviously, if you're like a bad, mean, cruel person, you're like, I'm just going to disrupt everything in a bad way, and it's going to be, and hurt people. That's not what I'm saying. Right. What I'm saying is, you have agency over your life, and you can decide for yourself what you think about money, how you want to feel about money, how you think about career, what you want to feel about a career, how you think and feel about the concept of acquiring so much stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, like we live in this culture where we're just being bombarded by advertisements. If you buy this, then you'll be happy. If you buy this, you'll be happy. And it just doesn't nothing buys happiness except for what's inside. And so it's really looking at even the conversations around feminism and patriarchy that are fraught with connotation. And you can't, if you talk about feminism, then you're either a man-hating person or you are, I don't know, like whatever. Or if you are trying to fight the patriarchy, again, there's just all these, most men, like the majority of men are victims of the patriarchy too. You know, there's a few small group of men who decide they want to control and dominate, and the rest of the men have to get in line and fight for them.
Oh, I feel that. I feel like, I think, yeah.
You know, and so it's like all of a sudden men have to also live up to these like standards of I can't be emotional or I'm not a man. And it's just like, now you're bottling it up. And guess what? It's more acceptable in the world for a man to be violent than to be emotional. You know, and so it's like, and so we have to all acknowledge where our biases as women come from too. Why do we like the bad boys? Women love the bad boys too, and women want to have that dangerous. Why?
Well, he stands up, there's a man up.
It's just like all these things that are actually hurting like everyone. And so the idea is like, can we give permission to our men to be emotional? Can we give permission to our women to be strong and not feel like, oh, you're manly if you're trying to go after your dreams? There's just all this stuff that's all based around indoctrination from years past that should just be erased. And you have to start over and decide for yourself what you want to be, how you want to, you know, think about all the things in your life. Well,
I think when they rely on, this is the structure that so many people have grown up and they rely on it. This is the framework. This is the way it is. And they don't question. I think that's one thing that you do just regularly so well is you challenge assumptions. You say, wait, why?
Why are we wiping our butts with dry paper? Can we talk about that for a second?
Right.
No, that is a very important question. I mean, we walk into our bathrooms.
Yes.
And it's like, well, let's before we can get to the bathrooms, we walk into our home, there's Wi-Fi, there's no, you know, we've got our cell phones, smartphones, which have more access to information than the president did 20 years ago. We have all these technological advances, and the
stuff
minute
on your wrist,
and yet the minute you step into your bathroom, poof, you're back into the 1800s. The way we wipe ourselves with toilet paper has not changed since the late 1800s. 1890s is when toilet paper was brought to America. And when we actually stop and think about what we're doing, we are taking dry paper that you would never use to wipe any dirty part of your body off with just dry paper. Be like, I'm clean.
Well, and anyone who's ever been in a situation where you've spilled something on yourself and the only thing that you can find, there's no, it's like you're trying to rub, there's pieces of paper coming off. It's not effective, right? I
mean, it's like, imagine if you went to your sink that had dirty dishes in it, you just cut up a raw chicken, and then you cut up a raw chicken that has a lot of salmonella on it, and then you decide instead of washing the dish, you just wipe it with dry paper and you put your dish away. Yeah, and you're like, people are like, I think you're crazy. Same thing if you jump in your shower, you didn't turn the water on and just use dry paper, and you're like, I'm clean. It's like, people would think you're crazy, right? And so we've been so deeply indoctrinated to believe that this dry paper properly cleans the dirtiest part of our body when all it's doing is smearing poop inside your butt. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. And it's causing infections, diseases, all these things down there that you're sitting on all day, fecal matter all day long. And we don't think about it. And the other thing is we're killing 15 million trees per year just for toilet paper consumption. Trees that give us oxygen, trees that suck in carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, all these toxins in the air, keep our planet cool so we can all exist here. And then we chop them off and wipe our butts with them. Which doesn't even clean us properly. There are 30 million combined.
So people keep using more and more and more because it's like
it's and there are 30 million combined cases of chronic urinary tract infections, hemorrhoids, anal fissures, anal itching. All these things can be completely eliminated by just using fresh water.
The pushback is
it's cultural. They don't understand it. Oh, they think poop will spray everywhere, and because they don't know what it is. We're like, no. Poop isn't going to spray everywhere. It's a precise stream that goes directly into the toilet.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, are you using dirty toilet water to spray your butt? They're like, no, it's coming from the wall. Literally the same water you brush your teeth with. Yeah. There's just all these beliefs. They just don't want to try something different until you're like, kind of being like, what are you doing? Like, do you not see like what you're doing? Like you would never wipe anything dirty with that dry paper. So once you kind of lift the veil of indoctrination off people, they're like, you're right. Oh my God. And then they try it. They're like, I can't believe I've been doing it this way my whole life. When there's this cleaner, more precise, easier, no mess, you're saving 80% of toilet paper, which means you're saving 80% of your money. It's a $69 product. So you within 3 months you're paid back. It's just,
can you believe that? I mean, that's so crazy. So even if you look at it from a financial perspective, if you don't care anything about the earth, like
Right.
even financially, like there are so many reasons, health-wise, there are reasons. And yet it's this cultural indoctrination where people are just like, I can't do it.
And that's what it keeps going back to. It's the deep indoctrination, because our great grandparents and our grandparents who taught our parents and who taught us how to do it, and just so deep in there that we haven't even thought of another way of doing it.
Association chat people, where this is going to apply to you is right now be thinking, but we've always done it this way. The thing that people say over and over about whatever industry that you're in or whatever practice that you're in for marketing, challenging that, right? And what that looks like. And the fact that you have people who continue to push back, even though rationally, logically, it's all there, right?
That's it. I mean, and also like when you think about, even from let's talk about the associations, right? Like what can associations keep doing to innovate, to bring in more young people, to freshen up that blood, to get people more excited about joining? I think it's really about thinking about what is a new disruptive way of thinking about it. What is it? What can I do to get people from thinking about associations as this to this?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I have a very simple thesis around how to get people to shift their behavior from one thing to another.
I love this. I was talking with my husband before I came here, saying this is actually the question. This is a question I wanted you to answer. So
amazing.
Perfect.
Well, great. Well, so for me, it's 3-pronged, right?
Okay.
3-pronged. It's a 3-pronged system to really shift culture and to challenge societal norms.
Okay.
The first, and how to do it through a product, either a product or a service, right? Okay. So number one, it has to be a one-of-one innovation, one-of-one best-in-class product, right? So period-proof underwear, or or a bidet, or coming up with a new way of thinking about an association, right? Like it has to be one-of-one steps of creating that, like the product, right?
Yeah.
So what is that product? Is it a one-of-one product, or is it a one-of-many product?
Okay.
It has to be a one-of-one product. So best-in-class product. That's kind of a basic, obvious thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is it has to have considered design across every touch point of the brand.
Okay.
If someone is going to look at something new and different that they've never seen before, or find to be gross or weird or old school or just not relevant,
right?
All of a sudden they're looking at art, looking at something beautiful and artful and creative.
Mm-hmm.
They can then be like, wow, that's so refreshing. That's beautiful. Oh, they're talking about periods. They're talking about poop. They're talking about this old school,
visually,
aesthetically, every touch point of your brand, you have to consider from an artful visual perspective.
Right.
And not like, I'm just going to throw something on paper and blah, I'm to put it out. My favorite 2 words when it comes to visual design is breathing room. Breathing room.
Yeah.
There has to be space to breathe on the
notes.
page. Because if it's so much clutter with so much information in one place, you're just like, I can't think. And then you're out of there. You're like, it's too much.
Yeah.
What are the most, like the 5 words or the 1 word or the 3 words, that can boom, pop your idea, for people who poop.
People who poop.
It's just like people
all of us. Yeah.
And it's like people click like, well, I poop. I poop. I would click on that. And just like, and so it's you have to really think about the aesthetics across every touch point of your brand, your website, what it looks like. Is it busy? Is it cluttered? Do you have too many drop down? Is it just too much? Or what is it the 3 most important things you want to achieve from your website? You want to acquire email addresses. You have to have a really strong email capture kind of value proposition, a beautiful image at the top with 1 word that describes what you're doing. Create 1 sentence that describes what you're doing, and that's it. And the rest is an image. And then when you scroll down, you have space to breathe every time on the whole website. And when you have space to breathe on the website, you can make an interpretation for yourself. Oh, this is what this means to me. You have now, you're going to have a say in the experience instead of it just being thrown at you.
I so wish that I had the crowd around me right now that I could see what all of you guys are writing in or typing in, because I can imagine that there's some processing happening right now. So we've talked about one-of-one,
innovation,
right?
Yep.
Innovation. And then we're talking about considering the design.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the 2.
Yes,
right?
and then the 3rd
right.
is accessible, relatable language
okay.
across every touch point of your brand. And so what that means is you can't be too technical, too academic, too clinical. We're all so like cerebral in our own ideas and what we're doing, what we're creating, and we think we know. We think that everyone knows what we're talking about.
Yeah,
but nobody knows what we're talking about. Nobody has any clue.
That's so true. I was just voice first. Anybody who's really into like when you say voice first, does anybody know what that means? Like nobody knows.
And it's like my one of my biggest tests is if I tell you what I do, can you repeat it back to me?
Right.
And a lot of people are like, "Oh, what do you do?" I do blah 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 blah, and they're like, mm-hmm. And then they don't remember anything. They walk away. They don't remember your name. Don't remember what you do. But the minute they remember like one thing about you because they can repeat back what you say, boom, it's done. Oh, she created a product that helped people poop better. You know what I mean?
So how do you answer that question?
What do I?
Yeah. So Miki, what do you do?
Oh, well, I'm an innovator. I create inventions that help elevate humanity and help the planet.
And I know what you do.
Yes. And one example is we take dry, toilet paper that we've been using for a really long time, and I replace it with a modern, accessible, beautiful bidet that both elevates your life and the world.
I think she's done this before. What do you guys think?
Well,
yeah.
So it's boom. It's like, and okay, so what do I do?
Right. Yeah. You're an innovator, and you created, a modern, like the bidet that is a new way. It's innovation in the way that people go poop. And
that's it.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah. That's it. And so we,
my daughter's over here, and she's like, "Yeah, Mom, good job."
Yeah, good job. She was listening. Great, A+ student right here. So it's really about can you repeat it back? And the second thing is accessible, relatable language means like you remove all the technical, academic, medical, clinical sounding everything, and you replace it with how you're texting your best friend.
Yes.
How do you text your best friend about what you do?
Poop. You say poop, right? And it's like, I'm sure that a lot of people are like, let's discuss excrement, or like the issue with human waste. And they're like, it's poop, guys.
I know. And so the way you text your best friend is the way your copy should be. So so it's like it's a little messy. It's not overthinking it. You're not like, I wonder what customers want me to say. Right. I wonder what they want me to say so they can then come to my event. I wonder it's like, no, what do I deeply, authentically want to like share? Yes. And I'm going to say it in my funny, silly, texty friend way. And that's you, that's authentic. And you feel the authenticity through the page. And I think that we're too concerned about what other people think, and we forget about what we care about. Yeah. And when light attracts light, right? Mm-hmm. When you're lit, people are like, "Ooh, I want that energy. I want to be lit too." And if you're like trying to just ask, see if they like me, what will I say if they like me? Then you're no longer someone that has light. And you're not in
your
power.
You're not in alignment with your purpose, why you're here.
Exactly.
Right?
And the minute that you are, you're like, "Oh my God, I'm working on this thing that does this, and this is why I love it." And that is what is now, if you put that on the page, people are like, "Wow, I feel it." Yeah. I feel the energy.
And I can buy into
that because it's authentic.
Yeah.
And so I think that, I think authenticity, people talk about it all the time, but people don't really embody it. Yeah. Embodying authenticity is truly like, what do you so deeply on the inside want to share? And just share it exactly that way. Not sugarcoating it in this beautiful. That's why when I say texting your best friend, it's messy. It's not perfect. It's not, the words aren't like, sometimes you use slang, and sometimes you use hashtags, and sometimes you use things that don't feel like it's a copy like thing, but that's what people want.
So, okay. So yes. And, so here's an area where I think a lot of us get hung up. And Radha talked a little bit about this when I interviewed her. And I want to talk about with you too, because just to put it out there, you guys are really cool. Like you're really like, and I can imagine, and really together, and really smart. And I can imagine people feel intimidated. And maybe there are people out there who are saying, oh, they're so full of their own mission, and they are confident and they're smart. And what about me? I struggle, and I doubt myself, and so are there certain areas? You have 13 different disruptions that you talk about in here. And I wanted to ask you, one of the questions I wanted to get to was not just what are the ones that are just naturally, you're naturally good at, but what are some of the ones that maybe you struggle with?
Yeah.
Can you talk to me
Sure.
about that?
So
Okay.
disruption number 5 in the book is so basically how the book is laid out is a common belief and then the disruption to that common belief. For example, the common belief in disruption number 5 is complaining is part of life.
Mm-hmm.
We all complain, we all gossip, we all chirp. In my book, I call it chirping. And when you see like, you know, a big gigantic tree and you hear all that chirping and it's just one loud incessant chirp, you know, that's what's happening in your brain. You're chirping to yourself, you're chirping about others, or chirping, you know, like actually out loud to others about others. And it's just like chirp, 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 chirp. And really the way to really like make a step forward in your life is to just to manage the chirping in your brain. And how do you manage the chirping in your brain is by becoming a warrior gatekeeper of your mind. And in my book, I talk about how to become a warrior gatekeeper of your mind. And the idea is that we have so many limiting beliefs. There's so many negative thoughts. There's so many, we're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm this, I'm not that. I'm a imposter. I felt all of those things in my life. I still do in a lot of ways. And when you have those limiting beliefs, I practice becoming the warrior gatekeeper of my mind. I love that. How I do that is, so every time you have, you know, so someone's like, say they're watching me speak and they're like, oh, she's, you know, whatever. And you're just throwing a judgment out. You catch that judgment.
Yes.
And then you name it. You're like, oh, there's Judgy Judy. You know?
Judgy Judy.
Yeah, there's Judgy Judy.
Again,
trying to come into my gate. And when you enter the gate of my brain, it can then spiral out of control, and you're thinking about Judgy Judy, and all it does is make you feel bad.
Yeah.
In the end, even if you're judging her and you're talking shit about her, you feel bad.
Yeah.
I think about that like food. Whenever you eat like fast food, you know, like because you're like, I'm hungry, I'm just gonna eat that, and then you eat it, and you're like, 20 minutes later, you feel like crap, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same thing when you talk shit about others or you gossip, or you're just like you complain, and in the moment you're like, oh, it feels good to get it out, but then you're kind of like, I feel like shit.
Yes.
You know? And so the common belief is complaining is part of life. The disruption is complaining is for procrastinators. Instead of complaining about what you don't like, create what you would like. And so practice being warrior gatekeeper of your mind. You catch the thought, there's Judgy Judy.
Yeah.
Then you name it. So you catch it, then you name it. There's Judgy Judy. And then you file it. And you say, okay, like, let me have a conversation with my therapist or my coach or my best friend about this one thing on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you put a time from it, and then you're like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm going to file it away and create space in my brain to do what I actually care about doing. Because the more time you spend judging others, complaining, kind of like in that negative thought spiral, the less time you actually have to go and create the thing that you want to create in the world. Well, and the more you're just procrastinating, you're just wasting your time, the precious 21,000 days. And we're so good at wasting time.
Yeah.
We're so good. Like, time is the most non-renewable resource we have, and yet we just throw it away. Money, we're like, oh, I don't want to spend it.
I know.
And yet we just waste our time complaining, judging, talking shit, like,
or scrolling,
you know,
or
scrolling,
like
whatever. And it's just like,
you
know. And I really think that there's a way to really become aware of every thought that enters your brain. Because sometimes, like, I'm in the shower and I kind of like, you know, something bad happened and I can let it get in my brain. And sometimes I do. And I'm like, whoa, it got into my gate, got past my gate.
Yeah.
So when it gets past your gate, because we're all human beings, we can't just catch every thought all the time.
Yeah.
So you don't get mad at yourself. You're like, oh, that, you know, Judgy Judy came into my body. And then eventually, you will catch Judgy Judy eventually. And then you'll be like, oh, I caught her. And then you practice pattern interruption. So if Judgy Judy gets past if you get good enough, it doesn't get past where gatekeeper, and you start to like, you know, and then you can just keep focusing on what you want to love doing, the people you love, and the positive things in your life. It's important to process the negative too, not to be like, I'm not thinking about the negative stuff. You purge out the stuff that's gone through in your life, but you put a time limit on it. You don't have to do it for, like, you know, you say, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to mourn the loss. I lost my job, or I lost my partner, I lost my this, or I lost that. You give yourself a timeline, a short timeline. You can, you know, purge about it, but you don't want to be that person that everywhere you go, people are like, oh, there she is again, coming to complain or something. Oh, there's that talk shitter again. Oh, there's that gossip again. Yeah. You just don't want to be that person. And so if you're the person who's genuinely always or usually in a good mood or positive, and you go through something hard, we'll be there for you. Our friends will show up for each other. It's not like we're like, oh, now she's negative and now I don't want to be there for her. No, but you for yourself put a timeline on. You're like, I'm going to mourn for the next 2 weeks or for the next 5 days or the next whatever you give yourself. Yeah. But then when you're done, you're done. And then you stop talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
And so then you become a warrior gatekeeper in your mind. If it gets past your warrior gatekeeper, you're kind of still judging or still talking, whatever. You then learn to practice pattern interruption. It's the second stop.
Yes.
Practice pattern interruption is when you had your baby, right? When you had your baby and she was crying,
yes,
we would switch her. You would switch her. You would move her. You would stand up. You'd bring her in the shower. You'd take her bath. You would do different things to make her stop crying.
Yeah.
We're adult. We're humans. We're just big babies in the end, right?
So some of us more than others.
Yeah. And so when we want to feel. When we let Judgy Judy come into our bodies and we're now thought spiraling into our bodies and we're talking shit in ourselves, we then have to literally stand up.
Yeah.
Or you literally move your body, or you literally take a walk around the block. You actually have to do something physical to get yourself out of that state. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm walking through these doorways. Rhonda's book Belong talks about that.
Yeah.
When you walk through the door, we have an opportunity.
And the recharging.
You can reset what you're thinking. When I do that, I'm walking through this door. That, done.
I'm still working on trying to, so I have a book club with Association Chat, and we're going through the Belong book. That was for April. And
Disruptor should be next.
We're going to go through, it'll be on the list. And so it's interesting because we're going through the exercises, and we have the 3 columns exercise, which is who is it that you're wanting to bring into your life and be around, their energies, and what is it that you don't want?
Yeah.
And then also, what is it in yourself that you need to look at in order to bring about that kind of life and those kinds of people that you're interested in. And
totally. And we're human beings. Human beings relate to each other through talking about other people.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where you're talking about other people and you're delaying your own progress in your own life.
Yes.
And so you're talking about something negative in your life. You're talking about, you're complaining.
Yeah.
And you just get hung up on it, and you talk to everybody about it, and everyone's eventually after a while, you're okay, there are some people in our lives that, that they've been talking about the same thing for the last 3 years. And you're dude, I can't support you anymore because every time I see you, you drain me of the energy, and you keep talking, and you've been talking about the same thing for 3 years.
Yes.
We cannot, I'm sorry. You have to go and do it for yourself, and then we can be friends again. I'm here for you, but I need to see you take action in your life.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I can't do this. So you have to actually draw a line in the sand as well.
So here's a question for you.
Yes.
So purpose in life.
Yeah.
I asked you, what do you do? But purpose in life.
Yeah.
What do you feel your purpose in life is?
Yeah, my purpose is to elevate humanity and also support Mother Earth at the same time. Yeah, that is my purpose.
I love it. And see, that clarity helps you. It resolves so many questions.
Yeah.
You probably don't waste much time answering questions because it's pretty clear. Does it serve, am I serving my role? Am I serving my mission in going this way or that way?
That's right. And I think that, we're humans. So we it's not like we falter. Sometimes if I'm extremely thirsty and my water bottle, yesterday I didn't drink water all day and I had a headache because I'm really trying to go no plastic water bottles.
Yeah.
And so I didn't buy a plastic water bottle yesterday at all.
But you were out and you didn't have
I had my water bottle, but I finished it. We were out in the beating sun all day.
Yeah.
And I refused to get water. So it's at so I'm also trying to figure out what I can do where there's a balance, where, but at the same time, it's I really want my mission now is to really catch myself, being aware of every piece of waste I create in the world.
Yes.
It's wow, every time I have to get a, to-go bag and I forgot my bag, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I want to feel bad because we all have to do that. 46% of all trees are gone on Earth. Our children will be left with a really bad, planet. It's not, and planet Earth will just kill us all. And then it might take 20,000 years to get back to zero.
Yes.
But there's going to be some really hard times for the next generations if we don't really focus on really thinking about all the waste we create in the world. And
speaking of next generation,
yes.
I actually want to make sure that we bring on my daughter who is here and I asked her to listen and to come up with a question, and she can think about them ahead of time. But I wanted to see if Margot, would you like to come on and ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget you had your little pad of paper over there that you wanted to use. Yeah, but you can ask. I mean, you don't have to use it, but come on up.
So, when you were my age,
That's okay.
When you were my age, what would you tell yourself at 11 years old?
I would tell myself that every moment is precious, and that to really find a passion for yourself. For me, my passion was soccer, and so I played it like 7 days a week, outside 3 hours a day, just playing. So I think it's really about finding your passion and just fanning the flames of it, and really doing everything you can to get better at that passion. When you're 11 years old, at 11, you don't have to think about rent. You don't have to think about a mortgage. You don't think about food, putting food on the table, like billions of people do every day your age who don't have food on the table or water to drink. You have such a luxury. You've been born to this beautiful family in this beautiful country that gives you opportunity. What will you do with that privilege? You are a very privileged young lady. And so what problems in the world could you solve having the privilege that you do? You can solve a lot of problems. So I would think about what problem in the world that you would solve. For me, had I know what I know now at 11, I would have started then to really focus on helping people who don't have what I do.
What do you think? Yeah? Got something?
Is there anything you care about in the world right now that you want to help solve?
Well, I sort of want to solve how a lot of people, this has been addressed a lot lately, but but how usually people don't listen to kids as much as they listen to adults. Mm-hmm. And I think that they have the same voice. So.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's great. So what do you want to say?
We're all humans.
Yeah.
So we all should have the same right to have like a say in everything.
Love that. I love that. That's great.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So it's like, for example, a say in what? Like the planet, or like what we're doing to hurt the planet?
Yeah, like
like all the areas, basically. Like just to say.
Yeah. In general.
I love that. No, I think that's really, really powerful. It's true. You're a being as much as she's a being, as much as I'm a being. Why is it that we have to say and you don't? That's a really, really great thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Association Chat. If you like it, please subscribe, or better yet, tell a friend. You can join the Association Chat book club or support Association Chat by visiting Association Chat's Patreon site. You can also find more information about live events, private communities, special projects, and more on associationchat.com. See you next time. Hey, Association Chat is in its 10th year and independently owned and produced by me, Kiki L'Italienne, and a very small crew of freelancers and volunteers. We appreciate our sponsors like you wouldn't believe. So I want to give a special thanks to all of our sponsors. Today, that includes Boulder, Event Waves, and Amplified Growth. Thanks to all of you. And if you want to find out more about sponsorship, then go to associationchat.com or email me, kiki@amplifiedgrowth.net, and we'll be happy to talk with you. All right, thanks.